Oh, can we just listen to the music? It's so nice.
I play it during the week. I mean, I'll throw in some Mason Williams anytime, man.
All day.
Sneak it in.
Hey, y'all. Welcome in. This is the Garden Mama Show. Kind of a foggy morning around my house. I don't know about yours, but it was pretty. I thought it was kind of lovely. I don't know. It just makes everything a little bit mellower than it might be otherwise, particularly on a day like today when there is so much gardening to get done. Oh, my goodness. If your area has not already told you this, there's a plant sale going on somewhere, I would say within 5 miles of everybody listening to this, and maybe more than one. So I look forward to hearing from some of them today. So y'all, by all means, get out there and get some good plants. There's people been working hard to make this happen.
Well, you know, the weather this morning, you ride by those, you see the mattress places and all that have the funny names, but the car washes are the best. My favorite, though, is I leave my house this morning and you can't see 5 feet.
Yeah.
And it's just mist everywhere. And I'm thinking, Mister.
This will work. This will work.
Yeah, I don't even need to go through the Mister today. I've got it. But it was so misty and kind of came in waves.
You could touch it.
Yeah, it's thick. I had to keep the wipers on all the way over. And as you got into Ridgeland a little bit, it kind of burned off. But getting back to the top of the hill up here at County Line, it was fog everywhere.
Yeah,
so it's kind of, it was interesting.
Well, I could see half of my yard today. The other half was completely grayed out. Kind of pretty.
Beautiful.
Watching a cat spring from the back of all that and come through the fog, it's kind of pretty. It's a nice thing.
Well, the cats around here, they have been waterlogged for about a week. They're so clean. All they've done is sit in the parking lot and clean themselves for a week straight. So
exactly.
I didn't see them this morning other than my little black and white. She's kind of beat up and beautiful in her way, how stray cats can be.
We call this we call this Lance's feral friends.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah, and I pet her. And she's
birds too, y'all.
Yeah, the crows. We had crows in the yard, and I wanted. It was funny because one of the guys that works here and I were sitting out there. It must have been yesterday, and usually it's the buzzards.
Yeah,
and so the buzzards and the crows were having something going on.
It's a who.
And there was 3 crows that were really upset about something for several hours, and they were yak 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 yak, and all in the
They'll
courtyard.
Tell you.
And we have a beautiful courtyard. I love going out there. They've just manicured it. Everything is evened up and rounded off, and so the crows
will tell you.
Yeah, they were telling you all about it. But finally, the buzzard, our vultures showed up, and there must be something going on between the two that they had a real big conversation
Some kind
piece.
of
Yeah, I don't know.
Territorial dispute.
Yeah, there was a dispute.
Something going on.
Michael and I were sitting there looking at each other going, man, I've never seen this before. Those crows are upset today.
Life is different every day, even though it continues, thankfully, to be the sun comes up and we get busy and get going on and do stuff. Everyone is a little different, and somebody made one of those crows angry, and they'll tell you.
I think the vulture did, yeah. And that vulture wasn't happy either.
Well, see, that's the other part
I wish Hawk would have been here to see that, because anything with a bird, he is fascinated, and everything is a bird that's in the air.
This is the 8-foot-tall puppy.
Yes, yeah. my galoot.
He stands up. He's taller than Lance, which is saying something.
The breeder, who is a great developer and builder around town, my mother ran into him at a real estate event that they had down in Flowood. It was, I think, the Flowood Founders Day series of stuff going on, and DeFord and my mom were talking, and he was like, all right, tell me how big he is now. She goes, he's up to here. And he goes, he is by far the biggest one of the group. And he is. I mean, he is a dude.
He is a
the sweetest thing in the world.
Puppy.
He is, and he's the sweetest thing. I mean, you wake up every day with this, 9-foot-long bird dog head right on your shoulder, and he's
his feet are in the next room.
His feet are over in the hallway. Oh, I love it, though. I mean, it makes me happy.
I'm going to start today with something nobody expects. And that is, I just happened to, there's a text that happens to be on here. It's not a text to me. It's not a text to our program. But because it says,
we're digging deep.
Because it says, red ant bites?
Oh, yeah.
Just pop the bite after you see the white spot and wash and dry it. It'll stop hurting. No, it won't.
We had this. This was the earlier in the week conversation.
I dare say there was a conversation about this. There are some people who are so little allergic that works.
Right.
And I say, I don't like you.
Well, we had, it might have been Monday where we were talking about how rough
everywhere.
they are.
Mine itch everywhere.
Yeah, they don't.
But I itch for days afterwards. I'm one of those people that has has had bad reactions to stuff like that through my childhood. You'd think I wouldn't have become a horticulturist, given that you have to be outdoors. But I fought it anyway, and I do actually have scars from fire ants in my adulthood because they got hold of me so badly. But the thing is, if they don't bother you the first time, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems with fire ants, because your body builds up that toxic resistance, and then you don't have it anymore because you've used it all. And the next thing you know, you've got big old bites and a mess, and somebody's yelling at you like Garden Mama saying, "Don't do that."
Yeah, last year I got into a mess of them in a field in the Delta, and they were muddy, and they got on me and they stuck. And 2 or 3 of those that really dug in, I had a hard time getting rid of. The whelp, it was too
well,
weeks.
And that's why I'm saying you can't just. People will also tell you to wash off with peroxide or to wash off with this or that, and that's good if it works. I'm happy for you, but most of us have a bigger antihistamine reaction.
Yeah, I've got to do the colored iodine.
Colored iodine.
The stuff that looks like rust. I know that works, but I got to sit there and just pour it on there.
Well, everybody has something. In my world, it's a little bit more modern. It's Benadryl.
Or the mercurochrome or methylate.
It's a Benadryl cream. I can't take Benadryl. I'd be asleep right now if I had any.
Why did mercurochrome and methylate go away in favor of, maybe somebody knows that out there, because you don't see those. I mean, you'll find them at a good pharmacy, but, they seem to be such good
I have to
antiseptics for gardening.
They are, and they have a place. Mm-hmm. But I think it's one of those things where they were so overused. The argument at our house, and when I was a little child, I was the baby, so everybody else had an opinion, and they wanted to try something on me whenever anything happened. They were going to do whatever it was. And the thing of it is that one of them burns really badly and the other one doesn't. And I honestly can't tell you which one. So somebody needs to tell us. But I think they just got overrun by things that worked better.
Right.
Not that they're not still fine and out there, but we just.
I found a bottle of that in one of my attaché cases from about 20 years ago. I had
now
a box.
A solid gel.
You couldn't see it. I think it was the mercurochrome. I'm like, man, where did I find this? Must have been one of those great little pharmacies, the independent ones you go in and.
Well, I love this. The Macomb, Mississippi. Thomas says that they're having smoking on the tracks in Summit today. Can we go? I'd love to be there. Yeah. That would be fun.
Smoking some meats.
Good morning, Macomb. I bet. Yeah. Good morning, Macomb. Oh, that's fun.
Dave, I'm sure Dave Hughes he knows all about it. Dave, a local guy, great radio show, and helps us on Fridays with hosting on the morning 3 hours, and does a great job. But I'm sure he'll be finding his way over there. We were talking about whether he was going to be able to make it to the coast this weekend or whether he was going to have to stay local. So if there's something that much fun to be local, I bet I know where he'll be.
There's something involving, food and fun.
Not?
Come on.
And hometown feel, too.
Let's see. Oh, this is great. Paula from Dentville has on her Garden Mama Show T-shirt today, which allows me to tell you that, yes, there is a new Garden Mama T-shirt coming. It'll be here shortly. I'm hoping that we will have them ready for you to order. This is one that I have come up with, so it's something you're going to actually have to order from me, and I hope that you will choose to do that. But the point being, y'all are so sweet, and anybody I can get to wear our name, it just makes me so happy. I'm tickled. But Paula also says she's going home and she would rather stay home, eat a bowl of cereal, and watch cartoons. There are a lot of people that feel that way. I don't think,
I love being here, but, you're talking about cartoons?
I love being here, but I got to say that since there's now 2 complete channels of nothing but cartoons on the antenna television, it does stay there sometimes. I don't have to go too far. Oh, my goodness. Mike's got a new kitten. Oh, what a cutie pie. 2 kittens. Wait a minute. More than one in this picture. 1, 2, 3.
We got Kevin, his early bird phone call, wanting to talk to you quickly about tomatoes, and he is on the horn now. So, Kevin.
Well, great. Welcome in, Kevin. Thanks for calling the Garden Mama Show. What's up?
All right. I planted a celebrity tomato plant and a Better Boys tomato plant 4 weeks ago in a 5-gallon bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And they were probably 1.5 or 2 when I got them.
Mm-hmm.
And the last probably 2 weeks, they just haven't grown any. They've got little bitty tomatoes, probably the size of a plum on them, but they just haven't grown lengthwise in the last couple weeks. I just wonder.
All right, let's start at let's start at the beginning. You're tell me what part of the state or what part of the world you're in. Is it
Carrollton, Mississippi?
Okay, so it's a little bit north of the central part. In other words, Carrollton is going to be, you're a little bit behind, maybe 3 or 4 days behind in tomato world anyway. So the fact that you have got fruit is great. Not everybody in your area does, trust me. So now the second thing is your 5-gallon buckets do have drainage in them, right?
Yes.
And you're watering and fertilizing on a regular basis?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say that this week, because you've got fruit set, obviously the plants are doing fine, but I'm going to say you're going to see some growth on them this week. It has been so cloudy and so rainy that they are just literally full of humidity and full of everything else, but they are not going taller. So as long as those tomatoes are doing fine.
Yes, and windy.
Yeah, and really windy.
And windy
it certainly
too.
dries them out, and that doesn't help them to grow. But I think because you got good, healthy plants that are in good condition, that have got fruit on them, you so far ahead of the rest of us, then you should be very happy. Now, if they still don't put on anything in another week or two, we may have a different problem. You may have overgrown the roots. There may be too much of that, this and that. But I think you're doing better than you think. Okay? I want to hear about it. I want to hear about it and see you eating tomato sandwiches in about 3 weeks.
I hope so. I can't wait, hopefully.
Thank you so much for calling.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate it. Y'all do a great job.
Thank you very much. It's a great way to start today. Doesn't everybody have tomatoes on the bone?
Yeah, I mean, that's as long as they're looking that good.
I have one tomato. I have lots of flowers, but I have one tomato. Still no more tomatoes this week. They haven't moved. They're just literally standing there because it has been so gray and so wet. And I'm pretty sure that whatever fertilizer they had access to is washed a lot far away by now. So it is time to do that again too.
And which one were you growing? Because it was like a little crown. What was that one?
I'm growing Baker. This is Baker Creek. They're Rebel Starfighter. There's no reason for anybody to grow this tomato. I just fell in love with it.
That's the one.
I fell in love with it because it's dark red. First of all, the really rich kind of burgundy red like black cherry tomatoes, and I like that taste, that flavor profile. But I just thought they were cute. And so, silly me, of course, I'm wasting lots of time and energy to grow one tomato this time.
Yeah, it'll be delicious, though.
When you join in, well, and there'll be lots more. It isn't happening fast enough for me either. This particular day, when you join us at SuperTalk.tv, you're going to see some very cool pictures, including one that tells a story. First thing you'll see is the reserved parking sign for handicapped people, license plates. You will see that on what looks like something you might either plant a garden in or wash a dog in or water a cow, water a cow, water a horse, any of those things. But all of those are real useful for growing things because they have good sturdy sides, and obviously they're tall enough to have plenty of dirt in them. But the reason that I included that one today is not just because our friend Mark Patrick sent it, but also because it literally is the perfect example of how to plant a combination pot. Everything can be prettier than it is if you plant it right. Okay, that's just how it goes. And the plants look better when you use them in a way that makes them all have their space. That is to say, something that goes up, something that goes out, and something that flows down. So those are called the focal point plant, the fillers. Those are the ones that go out, and then the ones that go down are known as the anchors, because that's what literally lets you connect the plant to the ground in your mind anyway. So it's a beautiful way of putting things together, and I encourage you to do that. I'm not as good at it as he is, but then again, I don't have tubs, so maybe I will get better one of these days. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see. Hey, Joe in Madison, good morning. This fig tree, is it too late to prune back the leggy fig tree? The two figs are 3 inches apart, neither produce many figs. Is there a fertilizer? Yes, you should be using something that is intended to have all of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and all the trace elements. That's called a complete fertilizer. So it could be one that you work into the pot. It could be one that you use in the water, mix into water and water the plant with it. But I can tell by the pretty leaves, but kind of wimpy situation, that this plant does need some fertilizer. I would not prune it until you see if it can't send out a little bit of growth on some of these stems. So I'd fertilize it first, maybe give it some more sunshine if you can do that, and let's see what happens in a couple of weeks. Beautiful plant. They just they're just one's doing so much better than the other that I really think we need to give them a little attention. Okay, beautiful plants though. Ooh, this is a tough one. JB wants to know, when is the best time to try to grow huckleberry from cuttings? Actually, I think layering is the best approach. If you have a plant, you have a cane that comes out the side of it, you bury part of that cane and let it root, and then that in turn puts those sprouts so you can dig them up later on. Excuse me. Too much water this morning. The question is always, when's it going to root? When you do a layer like that. Now, you can certainly do some cuttings. They're best done probably maybe now, but maybe, I don't know. It's really hard to tell with something like that. You want it to be able to be stiff enough to stand up. And if you took like a 4-inch cutting, you want it to be able to be stiff enough to stand up, but you don't want it to be such hard wood that it can't root. So somewhere in that semi-hard, semi-soft wood stage is appropriate. But layering is going to work better because you're leaving it attached to the main plant. So if you can possibly do that, I think that's the better thing. It takes about 4 or 5 months to root. What you'll see is that the whole thing looks like nothing's happening, and you make sure it has some water if the conditions are dry. And in a few months, suddenly the other end of it starts growing. You'll see new growth come out, new leaves, maybe a flower. You never can tell what it's going to do, but it will give you some indication that it's growing. So that's a nice one. I do like huckleberries. I don't know if everybody's eaten those yet. We should have more of them, shouldn't we? Yes, we should.
And Mike says it's 5 cats.
It's 5 cats.
Said he's a daddy now. So.
Okay, Mike. We're not.
Gotta keep your hands full.
I'm gonna say we're gonna tell Mama thank you, and then we're gonna go figure out what to do with 5 kittens. Oh my goodness, they are cute though. I gotta say. I heard about Castor and Pollux yesterday. Somebody raised cats that love each other that much.
That's from Face Off, isn't it?
Could
Castor
be.
Pollux Troy and Castor Troy.
It's all about the stars, you know. All right, we're going to talk about Ken's picture and all sorts of other things right after this. Do you know what today is, Lance? Today is the day that we hear right here, the studio, every studio all around the world.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It's Marconi Day. And we're not talking about...
Not Macaroni Day.
No, and not Marconi plays the mambo.
Guglielmo.
Yeah, it's not Marconi plays the mambo, but although that is certainly a part of it, speaking of the words that people never get right in a song. But anyway... Guglielmo Giovanni Maria Marconi. What a great GGMM. What a wonderful set of initials. Come on
that's
now.
embroidered everywhere. On
you know you got to do that right here.
On his cuffs.
Got to do all that. Born on April 25th, which was yesterday, but his traditional celebration of him is on April 26th. He was born in 1874, y'all, and he won the Nobel Prize in Physics. He won all sorts of stuff, but mostly he won our hearts because, indeed, he invented the first radio wireless receiver that worked. People have been at that for a long time, but he got it. And we wouldn't be here if somebody hadn't, and we're just happy that it was Marconi. People,
it couldn't have been a better name to be an
perfect, just perfect. He was most lauded. He did a lot of stuff. He's an electrical engineer. He was an inventor. He was even a politician. Okay, but his creation of an absolutely practical radio wave-based wireless telegraph system, which has no acronym that suits it very well, but that's what it was. It meant it means that we can talk to each other.
They had all the acronyms that
yes.
stood for something like spark, and then that has something to do with electricity.
Yeah. We used to make those up, and they would not be they're word salad, but you can do all of that. But it is in fact Marconi Day, and folks who celebrate that should be radio people, obviously, but we all do, because we really appreciate that world that we live in, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for old Marconi or somebody like that. Oh my goodness.
We have Mark, heated pool, Peaches Patrick, out and about, on location, on the burning up
Good
the road
morning,
and the
everybody.
plants.
Howdy doody. Where are you today, Mark? You are a roving reporter.
I am at the hill. I'm at the Hilltop Garden in Brandon at the Rankin County Master Gardener's plant sale.
Oh, fun. That's a good bunch.
And I have a special guest. Her name is Cindy. She is the brainchild of this plant sale, and I'm going to let her talk about what's going on.
Oh, and you have a train. Even better. Hey, Cindy, thank you
I
for
rolled my
being
window up.
No, we like that. It's called ambiance. It proves that you're not actually here making all this up, you know. We don't have a train whistle. Hey, Cindy, welcome into the Garden Mama Show.
Well, good morning. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. Tell me about your project. What's the sale got going on today?
We have a lot going on. We have a group of about 65 master gardeners that have divided plants in their yard and have brought them to share with the community.
That's wonderful.
So we have a little bit of everything.
All right, now tell me this. If there was only one plant that you could get there today and take to your garden, which one would it be?
I love the red dragon persicaria.
Oh, fun.
It is the perfect plant.
Beautiful.
It's fairly large. It gets to be about 4 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
It has an insignificant blossom, but beautiful foliage. You can plant it in full sun. It tolerates some shade. If it gets taller than you like, you can cut it off, and it'll just grow right back.
Isn't that what we're
Mine
looking
froze
for?
to the ground twice this year.
There's so
and
many
it
plants that
popped right
don't
back
take
up.
sun well, so that's a beauty.
Hey, is that a woman after my own heart?
I'm telling you. Now, look, I know folks are getting there. How long will y'all be there? Is there a time limit, or is it just till the plants are gone?
Well, we are usually out of here by 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully all the plants will be gone by then.
Well, and otherwise, if anybody's coming by that late, they should bring lunch. If anybody's coming by that late, they should bring lunch. So. Y'all have been there a long time this morning. Well, that's great, y'all. That's in Rankin County. It's at the Hilltop Park, right?
It's at the Extension office on Marquette Road.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's such a nice office. Nice place. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate hearing about it. This is wonderful.
Well, my pleasure. I hope everyone can come by and see us. It's
I hope
a good
so,
day
too.
to hit lots of plant sales.
It absolutely is. The Master Gardeners, of course, across our state and across the nation and, frankly, around the world, are one of those organizations that you just don't even realize you want to be part of until you walk in the first class. And as soon as you do, you go, oh, I need to know these people. I like this. So I want to encourage everybody.
When I moved here in 98, it was the first thing I did was call the Extension office to sign up.
I love it.
And it was a wonderful way to meet people and become part of the community.
Well,
I had to wait 2 years.
Well, and that's really good because very few places have a waiting list that takes more than a year. But that's wonderful. That's that tells you how vibrant the organization is. That's great.
It is. Yes.
Well, thank y'all for that so much.
And boy, I thought I was going to have to come in via helicopter. There's so many people here.
Good. That's wonderful. That's exactly what we're hoping for. We would like that to be that way in, Senatobia and Columbia and everywhere else that, come on, y'all. Let's go to the coast. Everybody's got a plant sale going on today, and this is a beautiful day for it. So that's wonderful. I'm so glad you're there, and I'm so glad that you brought us this information. We're here celebrating.
My pleasure.
Thank you very, very much. We're here celebrating John James Audubon Day, so there's a few bird businesses in our world today. But the good news really is that I don't care what you're planting. Today's a good day to do it. So I hope everybody comes to the plant sales, particularly the one in Rankin County, since y'all are nice enough to talk to us, and then get a chance to get out and do some gardening this weekend. The soil could not be in better condition.
Absolutely. Well, y'all have a good morning, and I'm down on the road. Who knows where I'll go next?
Okay, well, we'll hear from you later on, I hope, this morning. Give us a holler.
Yes, I'll try.
Thank
I may
you.
head to the MMA.
Well, there you go.
Bye.
I love you. Take care now. Y'all that's so much fun. It's so great to see gardeners having a good time. I love that. A couple of gardeners having a good time here. Oh my goodness, after 5 years, there's pawpaws on this tree. It's just wonderful. Just wonderful. Sometimes it happens. This is Christine, she showed us the blooms a little while back, but she's got pawpaws, and 5 years is really about right. When you plant a young tree, when it's a fruit tree particularly, but even if it's a nut tree like a pecan or something like that, it's going to take 4 to 7 years for that plant to start making. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. I've told the story about my pomegranate that, they promise you it's going to start blooming in 3 years and bearing fruit in 5. It was 10 years later before I got it. If I didn't have so much patience, the tree would have been long gone by then. But it does take different conditions and different situations make things take different lengths of time. But it does take a number of years. That's why planting a tree is an investment, and that's why planting a fruit tree is often a very mouth-watering investment. So that's delightful. This one, on the other hand, is not so happy. There's a pear tree. I don't know who this is. I'm going to say, I'm just going to say Bobby and Belzona, but I don't really know who it is. Anyway, the problem is that a buck got up against his pear tree and rubbed it in half. Does it look like it'll be okay? It looks like it is okay in these pictures. It's just going to be a while before it recovers all the way. Before it has a chance to actually get back to where you can prune it into the shape that you want, because I can see that it's kind of headed off in one direction. And that may be okay, but it may be something that you need to work on next winter when it's time for pruning. But congratulations on saving it. That's delightful. That's delightful. This is the first reference I have read in a very long time. See, I go back and read y'all's text. You have to be careful. One of these days we are going to do a program where we just read text.
It's just
randomly.
the archive.
Yeah, where you just read them randomly. But anyway, this is really good ideas. I did not realize that sailor sandwiches were beef and breakfast sausage in equal amounts. But I'm thinking I'm going to get into it. I think that would make the best breakfast burrito I've ever heard of.
That's called a sailor sandwich.
Yeah, I think that's what this person says. Nice. I'm just quoting the text line. And as I say, if you don't tell me who you are, I'm probably going to give you a name anyway, just to make it a little bit more even. But I think the pear tree is going to be okay. You've got it surrounded now, and that's probably going to be the best thing for it to keep it from happening again. Ken has put his pots outside. They're looking good. He's actually in town today and listening on the radio, the real radio. We have terrestrial radio, y'all. There are channels. There are more people that listen to terrestrial radio in a given day than ever listen to all the rest of the stuff that we all like so much. That's why we're here. If we weren't here, it would be because people were not listening and we would be doing something else. That's also why we stream. That's why we do the TV. That's why we do personal appearances. It all has to do with getting words out in fashion that you can appreciate and understand and that you are interested in hearing. We never want to be boring, and we always want to tell the truth. These are things that are just ingrained in radio folks, and that's what it's very happy. I think the cats are getting to Mike. I don't mean to laugh, but he's now telling me about Audubon being a bird brain. I actually thought these were two pictures of the same kittens, and it's not. They're literally crawling across his entire world. They're everywhere.
I mean, that's what when they say it's like herding cats.
This is them.
More than two of them.
This is them right here. And I have to tell you, there's just something about cats with different color ears that it just tickles me, and these are just particularly cute because of it. So, hey, Bubba, good morning. That's great. Let's see now. What else have we got going on here? Amaryllises that are not blooming and did not bloom last year. Patricia says, "What should I do?" Yes, you can. If you're planting, she's asking about planting them and what's too deep and that sort of stuff. You can grow them in pots or you can grow them in the garden, but you've got to put their shoulders at the top of the soil surface because there's got to be. It's just like a bearded iris has to have a little bit of sunshine on that rhizome. Amaryllis really benefit from having a little bit of sunlight on their shoulders. That's the part where the bulb goes from being round to having a neck on it. Okay, we call it that because that's what it looks like. And that's where we need to put them above. They need well-drained soil because otherwise the bulbs can rot. But given that we have well-drained soil, we just need to put their shoulders to get up above the sun, into the sunlight just a little bitty bit when we're planted. And you can grow them in containers at that same level. When they finish blooming in containers, we turn the pot over so that they can rest. But in the garden, all we do is just let them die back naturally. And then when a few weeks pass and they begin to start trying to put up a leaf, that's when we start fertilizing them again. And I find that more people don't fertilize amaryllis and other bulbs. I'm the same way. I just think, well, they got what they need. They look fine. I have 4 St. Joseph's amaryllis. Y'all may have heard me talking about this a number of years ago, trying to get these from someplace because they're not that easy to find. And I now have 4 bulbs, one of which is blooming because it's the one I fertilized. Duh. It's in a different bed. It's in a different space in the garden, and it got attention that the others did not get. And I'm just telling you, sometimes we don't give them enough attention.
What about the olive? I have the tree that I had.
Oh,
it's
the olive
pot bound,
tree.
and
Yes.
it seemed to make it through the roughness of last year. It didn't really want to put on any new leaves or anything last year. I mean, it was green. It looked like it was struggling a bit. I took good care of it, loosened the soil and made sure it was in good sun and take care of it, make it didn't dry out. But so this time coming back this year, the whole tree basically didn't want to bloom, but one branch off of it shooting off out of the 6, it had green growth.
Oh, my goodness.
And then at the bottom, very similar to the pear tree, it has growth coming out, new growth from the base.
Sideways.
Yeah, and but so what do I do with
These are all things that can be remedied along the way.
Yeah, what do I need to do
The first thing to do is to take your thumbnail and scratch those other 4 branches and see whether or not there's any green underneath them. If there is, take a couple of inches off the top, but let them let's see if we can push some growth on them. If they're brown underneath all the way down to the base, cut them out. You need to make room for something else. Yeah. But I think you're just seeing a shocked plant that's going to be okay. As long as its roots are not growing out the bottom of the container, you don't need to move it.
Perfect.
But if it's got some life in it, let's encourage it. If it has less, let's give it space to put in some new.
Okay.
Okay.
You. Yeah, I've been watching it for over the last week. Been going, okay. I know I'm going to have to ask. Yeah, I don't have to talk to the garden mama now.
We've got to have some leaves, guys. Come on, y'all. That's fun stuff. Oh, my goodness. Well, your texts are rolling in. I'm happy to say today we are celebrating the one and only Marconi, John James Audubon. And I got another couple of events to tell you about. Plus, it's Pretzel Day. Come on, y'all. We're having some fun. This is the Garden Mama Show. Ah, yes.
I pretend like I know how to play that, but I have no idea what I'm doing. So, it's a combination of bagpipes and all that. And I have no idea. I need one of those, though.
I think the main thing that goes on in Cajun music is the strange combinations of accordions, washboards, and traditional guitars.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It makes a cacophony.
Absolutely amazing.
You either like it or you don't. That's for sure.
Oh, it was so funny. I'm sitting there with my 79-year-old dad the other day, and I've taken him off of the cable. Finally, we've been working
freed
on
him.
It. Finally, it's taken 100 years to do this, and many tutorials later, still, struggling a bit with, just how much freedom there is. But we went out on YouTube on the TV, and he's like, "You mean I can just watch and listen to music?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, find me some of that Cajun music. Pull up the Balfour Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And played that. And he goes, I'm going to have to watch Southern Comfort. So he turns on Tubi, and there's Southern Comfort for free. Yeah. And he's like, oh, man, God, so he's starting to get it. But, yeah, now the music, he's like, oh, man, all this music stuff. Oh, goodness, he doesn't know what to do with
It's
himself.
true.
Like a pig in slop
you
right
literally,
now.
For those of us who had to wait for the new albums to reach the record store in our little towns.
Not got to worry about that much anymore.
Not much. Not so much.
He was kind of blown away, too. And I loved it because, 79-year-old dad can sit there and I was telling the other day, I said, if you ever want to not have to write a bill or have auto pay out of your
now, my
account.
goodness, you've turned on the whole world
that
there.
blew the mind. He's like, hold on now.
I can do what?
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Let's talk about that Cajun music again. That's where we are at this point in the evolution. Is Cajun music is on YouTube? Yeah, it's everywhere, Dad. I got you.
Yeah, there's no real excuse for insomnia anymore because there's stuff in the middle of the night.
Oh, no, you got some new headset, Sony Bluetooth. You know,
oh, my goodness.
So you can sit up all night, yeah.
That's kind of fun. I wanted to... This is really cool. Debbie from Ocean Springs, you remember we talked about stripping off the rosemary and using those when you had those leftover stems of rosemary and using them. Make sure you soak them really well so that they don't catch fire, but that you can use them as skewers. And she has turned around. She did that first, then she turned around and didn't take the leaves off the next bunch and says it's absolutely delicious. She did new potatoes and tomatoes that way, as well as her pork tenderloin, and it's really pretty. It looks lovely, as well as apparently it tastes great too. So that's fun. Now I'm starving. Anyway, Ken says that there's a lot of people at that plant sale. Wherever y'all are going to these plant sales today, send us some pictures. That's kind of fun. That's really a treat. Wait now, I'm lost on this one. I'll have to come back and try that again. Okay. The wisteria never blooms. I can answer this. Looks very healthy. And keeps it trimmed into an umbrella shape. That's why it doesn't bloom. It's too much pruning at the wrong time.
I will tell you that just from my crazy experience with wisteria, which I love it, and people will come, even the mail lady was like, "Your wisteria, what is that?" I'll pick little pieces and leave them for because when it gets the hanging great look.
So nice.
But don't prune it. I mean,
don't prune it. Well,
yeah, I mean, you can mold it and pull it around. Yeah. I'll tell you, the first thing, if you love those blooms, what I've seen is if I let it kind of wild up on the bloom season and then kind of work it back a little bit. But I've got two big canopies that I use not only for the having some shade, but it's just a beautiful plant. But it will continue growing.
Oh, yeah.
It moves so fast. But from my experience, where I'm sitting, and it's not 100% sun, but I kind of let it go wild a little bit. And then once the first blooms come out, then I'll try to, shape it up a little. And then, because it'll just take over.
Well, and by doing that, you're actually doing the kind of pruning that brings on more flowers, which is obviously...
That's what you told me to do 2 years ago.
Because the pruning, here's the deal, the wisteria flower happens, okay? But it happens on a cane, one of those long vine things. And if she's got that, and she's in there pruning them into this nice umbrella shape, that's lovely, but it's cutting off the flower potential. So the flower potential is on the side shoots of those long things that you're training into the umbrella shape. So instead of training them quite as hard into that umbrella shape, look for the little side branches on the longer ones and leave those a couple of inches long or at least an inch long. That's where the flowers can appear. So I wouldn't prune it anymore this summer, except maybe to keep it off the ground or the physical things that you need to do. But I think what's going to happen is you will see that next year it will bloom, and then you can start the pruning again. If we have a wisteria vine that is just outrageous and has to be chopped back because it's about to eat the house, or it's taking over the garage, or some of the things that those plants can do because they are so huge. The best time to do that is in January, when you can actually see the branches and the side branches. Okay. But you can also work on them in the summertime as long as you're clipping off where the flowers were and leaving a little bit of that stem underneath the flowers attached to their main cane.
And that's what I've been doing. I take a little bit back. As it gets a little too aggressive, I cut it back just a hair. But when those blooms,
it's so nice when my advice works.
I love it. I mean, it's the second plant. I was able to grab it with like a chain and pull it.
Sounds painful.
Okay. Well, no, I had like a little gardening chain, and I put a couple of nails in the fence and made a little little belt for it, and it kind of holds it up. And I found that after that, it's really matured better because it's not moving around.
Well, and it's also it has more control over its space.
So now that it seems to have its own little world. The blooms were 5 times more this year than I saw last year. And then probably much the same the year before. The bigger tree is up against a kind of not a trellis, but almost like a gazebo type thing where it's grabbed and held, and it's 30 years old, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
The roots,
they will live a long time,
and it's strong. But that's the child of this one grew underneath the deck and popped up later, years later down the hill a little bit. And that has turned into a really beautiful tree based upon how you told me to kind of love on it. And now it has it looks really strong. But there for a while, it's just kind of wiry. And I think I cut back too much trying to prune it and shape it. And finally I was like, man, I'm going to let this baby go.
Yeah, we think we're doing the right thing, but we're actually taking away from their ability to thicken up.
And the smell. Oh.
Wisteria is one of the sweetest. It really does have a lot going for it. Keith and Brandon wants to know, can I prune back thinning azaleas now? Yes, today. Do it now. And then follow up with the fertilizer made for azaleas, camellias, hollies, any of the acid-loving plants. You may have a bag of something that says feed the blueberries. That's the same thing that you would want to use on the azaleas. Really good idea to go ahead and do that. Let's see, Kenneth in Starkville, should I remove the fruit from a newly planted apple tree? It is small and heavily laden with fruit. Kenneth, I would take out every other one. We do fruit thinning on small, very productive trees, in part so that their branches don't get heavy with fruit and then break. So the way to prevent that from happening is to take off every other fruit that has formed as soon as they're about the size of a marble. And it's really not I know it's terrible. We all feel like it's like thinning carrots. Oh, no, that could have been a carrot. Well, but it's not going to be an apple if it breaks the limb of the tree that you're trying to grow. So take off every other one and let it make a few this year, but not as many as it might make in future years. Okay? Okay. I think we've caught up. We've got a few more that we're going to roll into in the next hour. But this is really a beautiful morning around here. Thank you for joining me on the Garden Mama Show. You know something? It's really terrific to be a gardener. No matter what else is going on, no matter how many other things are not making you so happy on a given day, there's something in the garden that's going to cheer you right up. It may be something that's in bloom. It may be a seed that you planted that has suddenly sprouted. It literally could be finding out the answer to some of your questions like we do here that make it better for a particular day. I'm going to say that this is an interesting question. There's only 2 comments in this particular person's text line. I don't know. It's Mary from Mobile. I have no idea who it is. Anyway, can you tell me how to handle camellias when the bloom turns to a mushroom look? And the other question is entirely about sports. So that tells you a lot. Sports and horts, as one of our producers around here used to say, are 2 very attenuated things. They get together pretty frequently, not just because we have a lot of weekend interest in them.
An interesting connection there.
But there are connections, and we see them in real time. This is one of them. The business about camellias that get kind of mushroomy looking when the flowers will begin to get a harder surface on them. It's not going to a seed pod. It's not, what is this happening? This is one of the manifestations of petal blight. And if you see petals all over the ground around the camellia that have fallen, go rake them up. I know it looks pretty, but petal blight is a serious disease that can then go from those petals that get blighted because they're laying around, and then in turn they can infect the rest of the tree, which causes next year's to have the same problem. So by all means, cut those things off, get them out of the garden, and if you have any other debris around that plant, rake it up and get rid of it. This is one of the reasons why we spray camellias with horticultural oil in the wintertime, is to help suppress some of these problems. So that's one reason there. How to get rid of poison sumac that's in a plant. The first thing is, if you're a person who has, we've been talking about fire ants this morning, and so now I itch from everything, but now we can talk about poison sumac and itching from that and poison ivy and, the other issues that we have. If you know somebody, or if you can hire somebody, which you can do, who does not break out from it or who suits up appropriately for it, as my friend does, you can get it taken out. On the other hand, if you have to deal with it yourself, then you need to move to the notion of weed control that is painted on, because you don't want the plant that it's growing on to get affected. And with poison sumac, sometimes it's very hard to find where the base of the vine is growing from. The ideal would be, of course, to find it at the base of the plant, cut it off, get everything out of the plant, and let that little piece start sprouting again when it's easier to either treat with an herbicide or physically dig up or get rid of in one way or another. But if you are very allergic to these things, get somebody else to do it. This is a place to, this is a place to indulge yourself and let someone else come in and help you with it. It's very, very, very important. Really, very, very important. One of the things that we talk about all the time in the garden is color. And I have to say, when I go to a plant sale or I go to a garden center or I go in someone else's yard, I might remember what the plants are. The chances are good I will because, I like plants and I'm interested in which ones are where. But it's the colors that really grab you. There's things that you can plant to specifically bring that color into your garden, but you also kind of need to know what they do in order to be aware of what you're seeing. They talk a lot of times about restaurants that are painted in red are intended to get you in and out of there quickly because that's a difficult color to sit with. On the other hand, it's like a flag. Red in the garden says, come over here to this door. This one's the one to use. This is the one. This is where the gate is. It's got the red top on it. Come to that. It draws attention and it directs traffic in its own direction. Now, orange is much warmer. Orange warms up the space, stops you right there, and draws you in. So, if you want people to be looking at the orange in your garden, you probably don't want to put it by the front door, simply because they might stop there. They'll feel great. They won't go anywhere else and won't see any more of your garden. Yellow is one of those colors that makes you smile. It is a welcoming color. Excuse me. Unlike its other primary relatives, the reds, it has that strong policy. In other words, it's not going to be ignored. It's going to be in your face, and it's going to give you a good time. Green really is the soothing one that kind of works in between all of the other colors. That invites you to sit down for a moment, gets you to slow down and look at things. It's important to have a balance between these action colors and the colors that are really more reflective, like green. Blue can evoke a calm mood, or it can be rather off-putting. It really depends on where you use it and what it is. But the thing to remember about blue is that it fades from view at dusk. So if, for example, you're planting blue and white flowers in the same bed, you're going to want to put a whole lot more blue so that it can maintain a stronger color profile in the latter part of the day. The white's going to shine, so that one you don't need to worry about. Violet is another color. It turns out we don't really have purple. We have violet in all of its shades. And violet is one of those that contributes to the design by putting a squelch on it. In other words, it makes you stop and think and contemplate and look, and it's also a color for meditation and a color to raise your spirits. I really do want you to know about these things. The primary colors send such a specific message that it's really clear, really very, very clear when you have the white differences that you put in it, of course, can make them spark even stronger. But when you're using these other hues, these other colors, it really does make a little bit more subtle message and gives you more of an opportunity to walk in and explore. The oranges, the apricots, and some of the lavenders, of course, will make you want to walk over and look at them. Some of the pinks, too. Now, not necessarily the hot pinks, but some of the more subtle pinks will do that for you. I want your beds to have joy, I want them to have color, and I want them to say what you want them to say. So put the right colors to work, and I don't think that will be a problem. I think you'll find exactly the message you're trying to send and, in fact, the plant to do it. Let's see what else is on the text line this morning.
I loved your breakdown of the colors because as a former tie wearer every day, my mother used to always tell me, son, if you want to make a great impression, you wear a yellow tie. It's a power tie. Mm-hmm. And then these colors, she knew all about what colors, working in corporate America for 40-something years. Sure. If you want to make an impression, this is the one. If you want to be a power person. So, yeah, I really appreciated that breakdown.
It's very
I enjoyed
important.
that.
It is really important. No. The classic in literature that most everybody knows about is the show The Waltons. Mm-hmm. The Waltons brought this to everyone's attention. When the container, the flower pot with the red geraniums were on the porch, were out, out where you could see them. The children were not supposed to come in the house. That was private time for Mama and Daddy. Thus, there were more Waltons. Okay, but the point is that Red sent the message.
Yeah.
We have Red on our microphones here. It says, "Hey, you're on the air. Pay attention. You got to be right here, right now," and that's what Red does. That's also why it runs you through a restaurant so quickly, because it's a little bit unpleasant to be with for a permanent.
Oh, we got to get out of here.
I got to hurry up. I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. That kind of stuff.
The image that I have frozen up on the screen, we've talked about this a couple of times over the years, and so we have a century plant, and it is looking healthy.
Well, and it's lovely. It's in Fondren. That particular one is in Fondren.
I think I know where that one is. So what's next for that? Is it going to keep going to the moon, or is it going to bloom
It'll go to the moon, and then it'll bloom.
Yeah, because the last one, that thing was so tall.
This one has a little bit of growing yet to do. You can usually tell by how big the base is, and this base is fairly large.
Right.
So it's probably 8 feet across at its widest point. Yeah. And when that's the case, we usually get twice or three times as much of the stem before the flowers.
That's kind of your mathematics on the thing.
It doesn't happen all the time, but that's how you're taught to look for it, so you can tell your client when it's going to do something.
How does that hold itself up like that? I mean, given obviously it has a great base and the rooting, but is it part of the density of the plant that keeps it from tumping over, or
this plant's entire life is built for doing this?
It's just to go up one flower.
If you were to look at, if you could get underneath and see the roots without tearing the plant up, the roots of that plant would go not only past the curb but underneath the street.
Right,
you know what I mean?
So it's got a great system. It's really
got a good root system to hang on. And you often will see them in neighborhoods like this at the edge of a property, because frankly that's where they can get a grip. And that's the either the seedling or an intentional planting of these things oftentimes doesn't do that well up in a flower bed, because it's competing with other things. But when they're off by themselves like this, like the one we watched for weeks in Canton last year, just has absolutely wonderful, just the power of nature, literally.
It is. That makes you think like a dinosaur is going to come walking up, in a little bit. It looks so prehistoric and.
Well, and I also think about what was that flower trying to escape to get pollinated? Where was it trying to get to?
Who did he want to really? Something was up there.
Some kind of attention.
Something he didn't want low to the ground, but he said. But the plant was like over many, many millions of years. It's like, I like this big, tall.
That's right.
Whatever
this is the best way. All the energy goes into this, and that's how the plant goes forward.
I mean, especially plants. It's. To me, that I've learned so much here in the time that I get to spend with you, but it's also, I mean, it just makes your mind wander a bit about, when you watch the complexity of a flower or a plant like this and the many, many millions of years or hundreds of years.
How in the world did this happen?
How did they figure this out, right? How did the bee go, man, we want a whole garden of this stuff. Let's get to work, guys. I mean,
that's right.
It's amazing. Nature really is amazing.
There's always an understanding, if you garden, there's always an understanding of the link between human beings and the planet we live on. Because quite frankly, if we don't take care of it, it goes along in a way of its own, but it may not be much fun for us.
Right.
So luckily for us, we get a chance to put some of that into our garden part, and we get to appreciate what's going on in the natural world, and at the same time have some human agency over it. And that's really the difference between gardening and looking. A naturalist is a person who goes in the woods and says, "Isn't that interesting?" And the gardener is the one who goes in there and says, "Isn't that interesting? Can I get one of those flowers? Can I have a nut to start the next tree? Can I take a cutting?" I mean, we just have a different approach to things. We don't want to necessarily ruin stuff, but we definitely do want to give ourselves the chance to have a little bit more fun with it. Randy in Starkville wants to grow melons. Me too, Randy. They're not the easiest in the world. Growing melons really does take as much space as you have. And by that I mean, depending on the melon that you're growing, that vine might be 10 feet long, that vine might be 20 feet long. It really does depend on which one you happen to be growing at that moment. But what you need is consistent water and fertilizer to a melon. Usually we plant them on a hill. We take up space in the garden, raise it up a little bit, just make it a little bit taller than the rest so that we can put a reservoir made out of a can or something into there so we can keep that full of water. It's simply a matter of digging a hole, putting in this thing that's got the holes poked in the bottom. It could be a gallon jug, could be a can, long as it's big enough to hold about a half a gallon of water at a time. Then you're just filling it with water and fertilizer while that seedling next to it is growing. That consistent feeding, full sun, bright full sun, and the ability to keep it being fed is really what turns into a melon. For more information, go to Jones County. Just look at it.
Smith County, John, go down there.
Yeah, Smith County, absolutely.
Now we have Mark, and he's with Lynn, and he is at a Jackson.
Oh, good.
Location, so he is back on site.
Good morning. What's going on?
I've made it from Rankin County to Hinds County, and I am down at the farmers market on High Street.
Oh, fun! It's Native Plant Day. It's Native Plant Day today.
It is. Yeah. And look, it's like a family reunion. I'm running into all these ladies I know, and it's awesome.
Good.
But I have Lynn McMillan with me,
who
is with the Garden Club of Jackson, and she wants to talk about what they've got going on at the farmers market.
Super.
Good morning. How are you?
Just great. Tell us what's going on today.
So, as you know, today is not only April Plant Day at the farmers market, but it's Native Plant Month in Mississippi. We're the ones who worked to get a law passed in 2023 that designates April as Native Plant Month for Mississippi. We were the second state in the nation to do that, and there's momentum going. There are now 7 states nationwide that have that, and a lot of others have proclamations. But today we're at the farmers market. We have our native plant exhibit. It's an educational display. Tells you everything you need to know about native plants and why they're important. We're giving away brochures, also promoting Doug Calamy. He is just wonderful with his knowledge on native plants. And we're giving away seeds. We have black-eyed Susan and purple coneflower seeds, giving everybody some seeds when they come through. That's
wonderful. It's such a great way to raise awareness and get people to really pay attention to what is native around us. We talk all the time. The Garden Club of Jackson has been just so strong in this effort. We talk all the time about how nice it is to be able to appreciate lots of plants, but we also need to particularly appreciate the ones that are our native plants because, frankly, they're the ones that everybody else around the world thinks are so hot and we take for granted. So part of what we're trying to do is make sure that everybody knows the great joys that we have here. I always use oak leaf hydrangea as my example of this. We all love hydrangeas, but so many people don't know oak leaf simply because it doesn't really look pretty for the first couple of years in the garden. And I think native plants, because they're going to be there so long, they do take a minute to get established, and that sometimes can be a problem for us as people that just want to see something pretty.
That's right. And the reason we're doing this awareness on native plants, we're not asking people to rip everything out of their yards. We're just asking them to layer in natives.
Exactly.
And to go towards less lawn and more plants.
And and you all have been, the Garden Club of Jackson has been real strong in the political end of this. If y'all are interested in that, I encourage you, get in touch with me. I'll put you in touch with them. But for example, some homeowners associations have specific amounts of lawn that you have to have. Well, maybe you don't want quite that much, so you may have to have a conversation. and
You're exactly right. I think we have lots of conversations.
And those are the things that y'all are really, really strong on is being persuasive and just saying, come on now, we're not trying to rip everything up and plant tomatoes. We're just trying to get everything organized here and have some native plants in there. We've got to get out for a break. Thank you so much for jumping on today with us. Y'all get yourselves to study some native plants. You want to get to the Jackson Farmers Market today. And, of course, there's also a great sale going on at the museum in downtown Jackson. It's Native Plant Day around there. So y'all put that to work in your part of the state, too. Or, frankly, in your part of the nation. Good morning, Ohio. How y'all doing today? We'll be right back. Some of our friends are riding around today. Ray and Sandy are cruising around Arkansas today.
Nice.
Vincent Tuscaloosa is cruising around today. Says that and by the way, I think this might be the same Vince that had the lily pads that were so gorgeous last year. I hope I'm right about that.
That's the right one. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful Woodland, Mississippi, the family farm.
Lovely. But it is hard when you have so many of them. So I wanted to say to this, his question last year, or their question last year, was that there's just too many of them. And so I'm going to tell you that I think we talked then about raking them out and pulling them out and getting them out. This is the time to do that, because if you wait until July when they actually encroach on your fishing area, it's a little bit harder to get them out of the water.
They'll get big, too.
And they do. They get large. But beautiful, beautiful plants. Really, really nice. Question, though, was my olive tree is 3 years old and is in a 20-gallon container. Congratulations. That's how big it needs to be. It is thriving, and this year it had bloomed. It had a lot of blooms, but now the blooms are browning. I thought there was going to be fruit. Yes, it might be. You just have to wait. It's like anything else. If they get pollinated, the flowers have done their job. And if they are successfully pollinated, then they will begin to make that fruit at the same places where the flowers were. 3 years is mighty fast. So I would not be surprised if it took 5. However, I'm not going to say it won't, because sometimes different trees do different things. Different people have better success or different success rates than some folks. But I'm going to say that if it doesn't turn into fruit this year, I wouldn't give up. I'd keep doing what you're doing, because you've got plenty of time for it to mature as a tree. There are also beautiful smiles, by the way. Some more pictures from those plant sales. This is great. Fun stuff. Y'all have got so many good things going on today. Thank you for that. Pictures from Eureka Springs. Thank you. Ooh,
beautiful place.
Gorgeous place. Gorgeous place.
Spent a little time up in that neck of the woods in college, buddy of mine, and we fished everything you could in those, the White River, the Buffalo.
I have a long story that can't be told on the radio about that part of the country. We'll talk another time. But that's just beautiful. Those irises are gorgeous. Have you noticed how gorgeous the irises are this year? Everybody has commented. Everybody's sending me notes and pictures because they're such beautiful, beautiful things. Really lovely. Gloria's got an absolutely magnificent corner in her garden. She's got roses. She's got this beautiful sago palm with all brand new growth on it. That's in Clinton. That looks lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that today. So pretty. Really beautiful stuff. I have several things that I'm interested in, but one of them, I want to talk to you about some other shrub choices while we're doing that. But who's on the phone for us?
Rev Homer, you had a couple questions for you.
Hey, Homer, what's going on today? Welcome in.
Hey, how you all doing?
Doing great, thanks. What's up with you?
A couple of questions on fruit trees. I got some peach trees, that a couple of them that they were not making, and I kind of decided to cut them down, but I gave them one more shot last year, and I got some tree fertilizer put around them. But anyway, they produce like crazy. I guess they said, we don't want to be cut down. But anyway.
They heard you.
Yeah, they heard me, because I talked to them. This older guy told me, you got to talk to them.
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, they making real good. But my question is, they've already started to get peaches on them. Is the little bugs and everything to get at them, is it really too late to spray?
Probably not. I would get what I would do is either look at the cooperative extension schedule for those things, or just go to the garden center and get a bottle of fruit tree spray and see when they need to be sprayed, because you can certainly forestall some of the damage at this point. Are they about the size of a marble?
Yeah, a few of them are a little bit about that size. Some of them are a little bit bigger, but I said I was just going to spray them anyway. You know?
Well, what you need to make sure of, because you've still got easily a month, so I'm not worried about the toxicity of the sprays on there, that it wouldn't be there by the time you harvest. But read the label for what you need to spray. You may be needing to spray just the leaves rather than the fruit. You may just need to just take a look. It'll tell you how to handle the stuff. But yes, we would rather you had started a little sooner in the year, because the problems in peaches are very serious and can destroy your whole crop. But I think you've still got time to save some of it.
Okay.
Especially since they're not showing any problems now.
I have found that greens will grow on a shade line this time of year real well.
You're right.
It's got to be a shade line.
Yes.
I also, you got to back far enough away from the tree so the roots won't mess with it. But at the same time, it gets shade around 1 o'clock, and I got part of one row of greens, Miss Neal, that's under shade. The other part is open. The greens where it shades around 1 o'clock are huge.
I love
that. The other ones are real small.
That's so smart.
It is amazing.
That is so smart because you're taking advantage of the natural conditions. And of course, as it heats up, those greens have even more trouble. So they're getting the advantages all the way along of having that a little bit of protection. It just makes a tremendous amount of sense. I wish more people would do it.
Yeah.
It's so good to hear from
y'all
you.
have a good rest of the
Take care
day.
of yourself. Thanks for calling today, Homer. It's good to hear from you.
Well, we do have another and a related question.
Okay.
Jody from Harrison County has a question about his peach trees. So
Okay.
I want to get him on there so we can.
Sure. Hey, Jody, what's going on?
Miss Nellie, how you been?
Really good, thank you. It's wonderful to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Too long.
It has. I'm sorry. I've got a peach tree that's about 10 years old. That thing is probably 15 feet tall. I did what you told me and cut it into like a bowl shape every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, this thing gets just blooms all over it, and every year they fall off. Any idea?
Yes. First of all, plant another peach tree because sometimes that can help. It's not necessary, but it can help in terms of their ability to attract what they, it's like tomatoes.
Yes, ma'am.
They will make fruit, but they make more fruit when there's two of them. Or persimmons, they will make fruit, but they make more fruit when there's two. The other thing is that if are you fertilizing it every year after you prune it in the winter?
No, ma'am. I have not fertilized.
All right. Get some fruit tree food. And it'll be real simple. It'll be probably not even more than a 2 or 3 pound bag for one tree. It'll take you for 4 or 5 years. But the point being, feed it after that pruning that you do in the wintertime. And that's going to really help it get what it needs to get. See, what happens is those flowers come on, but the tree still has to have what it needs in order for the fruit to produce. It's got to get pollinated, but it's also got to have some nutrients. So if it's 10 years old and hasn't had those, I think you can fix this I think next year you'll be surprised at how many peaches you get.
Yeah, because I would have had hundreds, honestly, hundreds of peaches.
No, I understand. You sound like me and my pomegranate tree. Took 10 years for that thing. It's like, why am I this patient? I don't even know why I'm this patient. Probably shouldn't be.
Yeah,
but you've got a beautiful tree, and it will bloom, so now we just need to push it the rest of the way.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was about ready to hook the tractor to it.
No, don't do that yet. Let's give it one more year.
I'm not. Okay.
Thank you, Jody.
Ma'am.
Take care now.
Yourself.
Take care. That's so fun. We have so much going on in this world that sometimes we just have to stop and think about what's next. And I love Jody's idea of, well, I was going to hook the tractor to it. I love Homer's idea, well, I was going to knock it down. But we give them a little bit longer. And sometimes, maybe the tree hears you, maybe the tree doesn't hear you, but the tree at least responds one way or the other. So I think that's really very important. Let's see what else is on the text line this morning. Wes is in Ocean Springs. Oh, how fun. Lots of rabbit manure in this mix. The kids are planting watermelons. I'm telling you what, that's a video you're going to save the rest of their lives and hopefully embarrass them at their wedding. But that's another story. when they're all looking so fancy and you can show that one time they did that. I have irises. This is Jackie and Brandon. I think they get plenty of sun, but only one blooms. They were transplanted 2 years ago, and I just don't know if I need to put them together. I'm so jealous when I see them blooming everywhere but my yard. If you just transplanted them 2 years ago and you're getting a flower, you're doing pretty good.
I was going to say, you're doing good if you're getting one out of a transplant, because I did the same. I moved probably 30, put them in pots so I could control them, and I'm getting great growth, but it's not getting that bloom yet that I really want.
It takes 2 or 3 years if it's an established iris.
It was
and
from where I moved
case,
it. But it was way back out in the woods, and apparently somebody had been dumping them, for years, and I found them and moved them, and they're doing great. But yet they still don't want to push that stalk up with the flower on it yet. Now my others that are at the corner of the yard, I bet I had 15, and then last year I bet I didn't have 2 or 3 blooms. This year, it was a ton of them.
When they run out of food, they do have a difficult time blooming. Irises really don't need very much nitrogen at all They need that phosphorus, potassium, trace elements thing, because our soils have plenty of nitrogen in them in the first place, but the plants also are very efficient at using up the fertilizer. So I would right now go ahead and feed them. I'd feed them now, and I'd feed them again in July, so that they've got plenty of what they need for next year, because the plants are not crowded, and sometimes they do need to be a little bit crowded, and they'll grow some more this summer if you'll fertilize them. That'll give them the chance to
potassium, not nitrogen.
Right. No, something that's going to be like 5, 10, 10. The 5 would be the first number is a nitrogen number. If you can get it down to 2, 10, 10, that'd be even better, but I don't know if you'll find that particular fertilizer.
So you can just go by each grain and just pull the nitrogen out. No, I'm kidding.
Well, there are people who try to do that, and I think they have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, it sounds fun, right?
Oh, I'm jealous too. This is a terrible story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. There's an iris that blooms down the street from me, and it's at a rent house, and so I don't know who to ask, and the people that live there never touch it, and the thing blooms beautifully. It's different people all the time living in the house, but the flower blooms all the time. And I have one neighbor that he and I have said if we could possibly stay up past midnight, we would go dig one up when nobody could notice. But it's out under the street lights. It's right in the front of the house. It's not like you could, you really have to be sneaky to do that one.
You're the Garden Mama Garden Club.
But when it's a color that you don't have and you don't see, irises will make you do some crazy things.
What color is this one?
This one is the copper iris that is the native is truly copper colored. This is a light copper with just a little bit of pink cast to it.
Okay,
it's really pretty.
Mine are all purple.
That's nice. I got some purples. I got some whites. Got some yellows. Anyway, okay. Now this is interesting. Here we got the right. Here we have the exact right varieties of peonies, but they don't bloom. Yes, they need fertilizer. Again, they need low nitrogen and high phosphorus, potassium, and trace elements. We've got to figure out how to get low nitrogen into some of these things, because really, their leaves are fine. There's not any problem growing the plant, but we got to give it what it needs to boost it into the bloom cycle. So that's nice. Jay from the reservoir, where can I put chicken manure and where can I not as far as trees go and plants? If it is aged to about a year, chicken manure, if it's really old and well composted, you can use it in the same way that you would use any other kind of fertilizer, but it's very high nitrogen. So if you're not interested in growing leaves, you may want to use less or use something else. But if it is well composted chicken manure, it's one of the best garden additions that you can make for balancing the taking the soil and making sure it has enough nitrogen in it to grow things. But you've got to balance that with phosphorus, potassium, and other fertilizer elements that the plants need, just depending on what you're growing. But congratulations that you have enough to put around the trees. That's wonderful.
Oh, and I want to say to our listeners this morning, before we get into our last segment, thank you so much for the interaction, the pictures. I know everything's greening up and blooming. Everybody's excited. We know because you go through that winter, and y'all do so amazing with getting pictures and things even through the winter. But this is Garden Mama and our favorite time, because we get to see all of the things going on. Get to go back and look. We got like an archive of amazing things, and thanks to y'all for that. Greatly appreciated.
Y'all have really put it together for us this morning. Appreciate that very much. I'm thinking that between the plant sales and the kids planting watermelons, we've really gotten ourselves into a happy place today, and I needed that, so I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, you were on a tear coming in, but you're going to leave on a cloud, huh?
Still am. That's the best part about gardening. Horticulture therapy is good for you. I don't care what else is going on in your world. I don't care if you've been dancing to the Balfour Brothers or not. You're going to feel better if you do something with some plants. And that's what we're about here. I want to talk about some woody shrubs when we get back and see what other interesting things y'all can bring to us on this here text line and on the phone line. This is such a great day to be a gardener. Welcome in. Thank you so much. This is the Garden Mama Show. We get him to translate, but then you'd know how he really feels. I don't want to do that.
As long as it's in French, we're good.
You're safe. I think you're safe. I'm going to have to put off the shrubs to next week, so we'll talk about them next week. There's something about drift roses that has really grabbed my heart this year. drift. They're the ones that everybody tried for so long to get different short, small roses that would just bloom abundantly over and over again. And now we finally have drifts, and they've been in the landscape long enough that they are super duper really productive with flowers, but they also have great colors. So if you're looking at drift roses and you're thinking, well, maybe not, just get one, put it in a container, and put it out somewhere you can look at it in a nice bright location in your yard. You'll be so tickled. I don't care if it's on the corner of a balcony or if it's in your front walk, where it's real prominent. My neighbor has a group of really pretty drift roses that have been pruned into nothing for the last few years, and this year they finally overcame their over pruning, and they're absolutely beautiful. And I think that's what's finally happened is we've just cut on these things enough. You'll see them in really beautiful entrances to commercial places as well as to homes because they're such a durable rose, and also because, frankly, they can take the pruning that we tend to be giving to them. So that's really fun stuff. Pictures in today at supertalk.tv from so many places. And I got to tell you, there's something on the chyron there that I recognize as an actual statement. It's the busiest weekend to be a Hattie's Burger. I didn't know they were called Hattie's Burgers. Hey, y'all. But I appreciate it.
Sounds delicious.
I think
I'm
it's
hungry
wonderful.
now.
I think it's absolutely delightful. Y'all are just great. So much fun stuff.
They should come up with a Hattie's Burger.
I'm waiting. Any day, we could do that. I've got some serious, beautiful pictures from the sale that I think must be at the museum. There's an awful lot of really good things going on all across the state. If you haven't been yet, you have a couple more hours before they run out of plants at your local wonderful sale. So go see them. Jay and I at the reservoir are going back and forth about his chicken manure and his eggs. They have 6 chickens, and he says, enough manure. So I'm suggesting what I have always suggested, which is make the pile, keep piling it up, and then next year, when it's been composted for a year, start digging out from the bottom. And you will find the most remarkable stuff. It's just beautiful. Peggy Martin is also blooming today. Thank you for sending in that picture. They are really looking good. Mine has fallen over again on its trellis. It is now blooming at ground level, but it is not a ground level rose. It is a very hardy and magnificent climber, which, of course, is the Katrina rose. There's now a children's book out about the Peggy Martin rose. So we have embraced it across the South without even thinking twice about it. No doubt, but that there will be many more of them, and they are beautiful. I wanted to be sure and let you know about. There were several questions in my email this week about growing cucumbers in containers. How do you do that? You'd have to hang the pot because the vines are so long. There are varieties of cucumbers that do not make more than about a 4-foot vine and still produce lots of cucumbers. I think of them like celebrity tomatoes. They are almost indeterminate. They're just pretty plants, and they'll make lots and lots. But you need to be looking at things like salad bush. It's a disease-resistant bush variety that's real pretty and makes delicious fruit. And also Space Master is probably the one that you see the most because more people have discovered it. I got to tell you, for those of you who are really interested and like the little pickle-type cucumbers, either that you do pickle or you just like them because they're small and they're crunchy, I just recently had the opportunity to run into a pickle bush, which is the name of this cucumber variety. It doesn't taste like pickles, it's cucumbers. But the idea is that it makes a bush cucumber that makes lots of small fruit. So it's a pickler, and at the same time it's also a quite lovely, quite beautiful, in fact, plant that can do in a container for you. I have been looking at okra. I'm here to tell you, I noticed today that here in Central, in Zone 8, they're beginning to plant vinca. They're taking out the pansies and putting in the vinca in the commercial plantings. You know me, I'm going to leave the pansies in there until they gasp their last gasp, but not everyone can do that because you got too many people looking at your flowers, so you go in and put in something that's a little prettier. And in this case, it's going to be time for the hot crops, which are, of course, the Madagascar periwinkles, the vincas as we call them, but also Yeah, it's time for okra. When you purchase okra as a transplant, you have to hear me laughing a little bit. Sometimes they transplant okay, but it really is just a push of the season. Now, right now, coming up into May is the time to plant okra as a seed in your garden. And I want to tell you about my little friend, because I just love little Lucy. I've always liked red okras. Some of them are pretty, or some of them, they don't actually taste different. They just are pretty. And okra is, in fact, the only hibiscus that you eat. I know we make hibiscus tea. I get all that. But in terms of eating the fruit, it's it. Okra's it. It's in the mallow family, of course. Cotton and hibiscus, hollyhocks are all in that group. And the fruit is extremely edible. But the new one, red burgundy, of course, came along in the 80s, was really pretty. There are other ones. The red velvet is nice, but I don't like it as well as I like little Lucy. So back to the question, is red okra edible? Yeah, it is. But in fact, it's going to turn green when you cook it. But for a plant in your garden that's not too big, it's not going to be an 8-foot tall okra plant. This thing's only about 3 feet tall, 4 feet maybe at the most. It's a beautiful flower and a beautiful plant. That red fruit, the red okra, is absolutely lovely. So I want you to put that in there, even if it's a little bit different than what you were expecting. The other thing you probably saw today was there's a swing set with strings hanging all over it. People have asked me to put out a picture with what do you do to that swing set if you want to grow vines on it. This is what you do, whether it's the morning glories or some other annual vine that you like. That's the way to do it. It's beautiful drawing, a beautiful picture of the strings hanging from the swing set, and it really does work. I know because I've done it. I have to leave you today with a quote from a famous character. You may have heard, it's Tiggerific, or it's this or that. Everybody's got a different Winnie the Pooh character and a different point of view from all of that. Pooh and Roo and Kanga and all that. Today is Eeyore's birthday, and I am an Eeyore. My world consists of me doing what I do and honestly looking up and saying, thanks for noticing. I appreciate it more than I can tell you. That's his biggest line. Thanks for noticing. I'm just a big old gray donkey that likes to garden, and I appreciate you noticing that. I did not know until this very day. I was how many days old, how many years old? I was this many years old before I found out that the reason we celebrate Eeyore's birthday is because of Austin, Texas. I've been to Austin a couple of times. It was great. It was 100 years ago. But the oldest festival in Austin is the Eeyore Birthday Festival. And it's one of the very last free festivals. So I don't think I'm going to get there. It's a little late in the day for me to show up. But I just had no idea. It's in Pease Park. It is it's free. Everybody goes, and they're all celebrating Eeyore. So I just want to say to you, thanks for noticing.